Hello, and welcome to this episode of The Inner Estate with your host, Bridget Stuart. My guest today is Jonathan Marques. Jonathan, thank you so much for being our guest.
Thank you so much for having me, Bridget. I'm super excited to just give back.
Well, I'm excited that you want to give back in these topics that we're going to talk about today, because with your company that you founded, JM Growth Co., you are helping predominantly business owners and business leaders create confidence and clarity over chaos. And that is a message that I think is not talked about enough. So I'm very excited that that's one of your key missions. Could you share with everyone, what does that mean to you?
Yeah, so pretty much at JM Growth Co., we have a mission of just making business growth simple, right? So for all my entrepreneurs out there, business leaders, if you're managing people, we can all understand that sometimes business can get confusing. There's a lot of moving parts. Most of the time you're feeling like you're spinning a lot of plates at the same exact time. And it's like this whole juggling act. And I think if most of the time people feel that way because they don't have the proper foundation needed in the business, the proper actual understanding of where they want to go. They don't have a clear vision. And when you lack a clear vision, you're always reacting to the current present time. And in business,
Exactly
there's always going to be unlimited amount of problems that you have to solve. But the thing is, most entrepreneurs don't know this. You don't have to solve every single problem. Once you understand where you want to go, now you figure out, okay, what's the 20% of work I actually have to do to solve that moves 80% of the results. So pretty much what we do is we kind of give clarity to business owners instead of trying to make it super complex. Hey, where do you want to go? We have a 3-step program. Level 1 is getting people to $1 million in sales. Level 2 then is getting $1 million in profit. Level 3 then continues to scale or sell their business if that's what they want. And as long as you understand and you're thinking big, it motivates you to keep growing to the next level.
That's one of the things that stood out to me about your approach and your program is that you have very clear metrics. And I believe that attracts the people to you that would benefit the most from what they want to do. So tell us for a moment, if I own a business right now that is struggling, and let's say that we're barely at break even, or we may be at a gross of $350,000. Is that someone that could be a candidate for you if their desire is to gross $1 million and then net $1 million or earn $1 million and then sell? Where's a starting point where somebody may reach out to you and be like, Jonathan, help me make this happen?
So that's a very good question. We get that question a lot. Pretty much, as long as you have a business that people are buying something from, you already have some type of proof of concept. Usually we deal with business owners that are at least doing about $250,000 in sales or higher, whether they're not at that level. But at least now that shows me that you got skin in the game and we don't have to babysit you throughout the entire steps of starting. Starting a business is one of the hardest things to do. And then once you kind of start it, you kind of get stuck in that next level. Okay, what do I do next?
Well, I think that, like I said, having the metrics that you're working towards will give you the clarity, like you've talked about, to hone in on that 20% that will bring you your 80% results and then move ahead. So what, also, just in case anyone's listening, what types of businesses do you typically work with? Would you work with someone who has a franchise location, or do you only organically sort of stick-built companies? What would your typical client look like?
Yeah, so this is a really good question as well. So I had this belief that business at its simplest form has 3 different buckets, right? So you're going to have a marketing department or a marketing bucket, a sales bucket, and then an operations bucket. So if your business is a product business or a service business and you're selling things to other people, our system can actually help you out. So it doesn't really matter what industry you're in. We've dealt with people from accountants, so super high-end stuff there, to all niche markets vehicle rental businesses that specifically vehicles to the production agency. I've owned many different types of businesses in the past. Super niche businesses like CDL truck driving schools, which is business, and I've been able to scale that, all with the simple principles that we teach.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because I did want to ask you a little bit about how you ended up as the founder of this company, now empowering so many other leaders and business owners. You started off at what many would consider to be a young age with a very entrepreneurial spirit.
Yes,
So I believe you even shared with me that you were owner or part owner of a restaurant at the age of 18.
that's right. Yeah. So I was a Division One track athlete at a school, full time student. And by the end of my freshman year, I was owner of a restaurant. It was a franchise itself. I was a franchisee. And then by
Hmm.
the time I graduated my senior year of college, I was able to open up between myself and partners up to 14 different restaurants. And that sounds
Wow.
appealing. But also in that time period, I was able to shut down 13 of them. So I learned
Okay.
the lessons where, hey,
That's right.
if you scale too fast without the proper infrastructure, not really understanding business and having that whole ego tied to it, you can build it fast, but you can also lose it a lot faster than you built it.
Okay.
So after I graduated school, I had one restaurant left and I decided to fire the manager there and just become the owner operator. After doing that for about a year, I got it to cash flow. I was doing okay, but I was bored. I needed more. I always wanted to grow. So at
Right.
this point, I was like, okay, what can I do? So I'm first generation American. Both my parents came from Portugal, and my
Okay.
father always had that like entrepreneurship mentality. But it was the old school way of thinking. It was okay, if I want to make anything, I have to work 7 days a week, do five, six, seven jobs, don't hire
Yes.
anybody because employees are going to steal from you anyway, right? The mindset.
Yes. Yes.
Which means me growing up, if I wanted to see my dad, I would actually have to go to work, which is a good thing because it showed me work ethic, but it actually motivated me from a young age, being like, hey, I want to understand this business game. I want to understand the money game early on. So then by the time I have a family and I have kids, I can go to their soccer games. I can go to their track practices. I can do what I want because I'm not a slave to the business and I actually have an asset that works without me. And that was the ultimate
Right.
goal there. So at that point, I decided to help out the family in the family business, which was a truck driving school at that point.
Hmm.
Long story short, I wound up working there. I asked my father twice if I could help. He said no. He said, focus on your business. So third time I didn't ask. I just show up one day and
Just
I'm like,
started doing it.
yeah, just say, and I was like, hey, dad, we can make this change. We can improve the sales process by adding the CRM. We can do this. He goes, how much is that going to cost? I said, oh, it's going to cost this. He's like, I'm not paying for that. I said, no problem. So I paid for it. I made the implementations happen. Long story short, I was with that company for about 3 years and doubled that business in size every single year for 3 years.
That's great.
So like
That's great.
that's with no extra ad spend. So it really kind of got me loving just the game of business in general. If I can go from a
Hmm.
restaurant to a truck driving school, what else could I do? But I
Right.
was putting a lot of momentum up, and he came up to me and he was like, hey, there's a potential lawsuit coming in. I'm thinking about shutting everything down. At that point, I'm like, what the F are you talking about? It's a good
Right.
thing I'm bald today because or else I would have pulled out all my hair, right?
Right.
But at that point, he goes, don't worry, open up your own school and we'll just transfer everything into your school. I said, okay, that's fair. So I shut down my restaurant, converted it into my first truck driving school. And then at that point, what winds up happening is first 6 months, I open up. I'm a one-man show at my new school. I'm still helping my dad run his school, kind of going back and forth, and I'm getting burnt out, working 7 days a week. And I'm,
Right. Right.
hey, I can't keep going back and forth. Like I can't keep running your school. When are you going to shut down? He goes, oh yeah, I forgot to tell you that lawsuit that was coming in that never came in. I'm not going to shut down. I'm like, okay, wow. I said, well, I can't keep running both schools. What's going to happen? He goes, Jonathan, I never asked you to run my school. So at first it was like a gut punch, right? But and then I took some responsibility. I'm like, asked him twice. He actually said no. I just asserted myself in there, so I can't do
Yes.
more of that. So that means I had to start up again from zero in a very niche industry, right?
Right.
Nobody knew my name, nobody knew my brand, but that lit a fire underneath me to really kind of grow this thing. And I learned all the lessons that I failed at the restaurant business, and I knew I didn't want to scale too fast. I definitely needed to work on the foundation. So at that point, I started
Right.
working my butt off, started investing heavily into personal development, learning from people who knew business much bigger than I did. And over the years, I wound up investing about $1 million, over $1 million in my own personal development. That does not include anything I spent on college, right? So learning
Right.
from people who actually know what they're doing. And I started implementing those things. I started learning my own things as I started implementing it. And we became one of the highest grossing schools as one location. From there, I
Wow.
wound up developing a system that can actually run the business without me being there. and I decided to take it as a franchisor. So I opened it up as the first and only truck driving school franchisor in the country. So to kind of give you a timeline, we've been doing that for about 7 years. Years
Okay.
1 through 5, one location. 6, we had 2, and the second location opened up. Between year 6 and now year 7, we have 13. So that kind of gives
That's
you the
fantastic.
scale of if you really understand where you want to go and you focus on the foundation in the beginning, you can really continue to grow this thing. And now that I have free time because I'm not in the day to day anymore, that business is in what we call in the scaling phase of it. So it's already on level 3 of the business scale. Have a team that
Hmm.
runs it. Now that kind of said, hey, since I love business so much, why not teach other people what I've learned? And I've already
Right.
invested $1 million into my own personal development. Pay me that, but at least I can actually start giving back. So I started trying out some of my strategies and theories with some of my friends' businesses. And I wound up helping somebody who's doing $22 million in top line sales, but they lost $1 million last year. After
Wow.
coaching them for about 6 months, I got them to turn around where they went from 22 million in sales to 24, but they wound up profiting $4 million by just simple tactics, nothing crazy, just bringing business down to the fundamentals.
That's fantastic. And I'm sure you mentioned the 3 buckets. I'm sure to create that level of change, you probably did a full assessment and analysis of all 3 buckets and then created systems and change there at that foundational level,
Yeah. So
right?
at that,
Yeah.
with that company in particular, it wasn't a marketing issue because there was enough flow coming in. It wasn't a sales issue, even though those 2 things can really help out. I understood that the main leakage was an operational issue. Their
Hmm.
expenses were way too high. There was no checks and balances in their system at all. It just got too big, too bloated. So we focused on
Right.
that first. Now that's cleaned up. Now this year, we're focusing on marketing and sales. And this year, that's where they're really going to blow up because now the foundation is taken care of.
Well, I think that's fantastic. So with 13 locations, jumping back for a minute to the truck driving school franchises, how many states are you in now?
Keep track, but probably like, I think 6 different states.
That's fantastic. And do you have someone, you said that you're not necessarily in the day to day. Are you still keeping an eye on scaling and growth? Are
Yep.
you,
So
yeah,
technically
okay.
now I'm the chairman of the company. So we have a
Hmm.
whole C-suite of people. So I'll pretty much coach my C-suite on exactly how I would coach my client itself, hold them
Right.
accountable to everything that they need to be held accountable to, have weekly coaching calls, monthly meetings, and all that stuff too.
So, big question for you. Do you ever want to have another restaurant?
No.
Okay. So, I am not a psychic, but I had a feeling that that would probably be your answer. Although, I'm sure you are really glad that you did have it because you learned so much firsthand with both success and failure that it's now infused everything that you're doing with JM Growth Co.
100. So when it comes to the
Right.
restaurant business, I say it all the time. Like what I learned in the restaurant outpaced anything I ever learned in college. Like that's a perfect first business to get started in because the margins are so small. And because margins are small, you can't be a lazy business owner, right?
No.
Everything counts. So you have to make sure you're measuring everything. You have to deal with people. You have to deal with inventory. You got to deal with sales of customers. How do you upsell?
Right.
How do you get marketing dollars coming in, right?
Right.
How do you balance all of that amazing training ground? So to the point where I think I'm not even going to send my kids to college. I'm just going to, hey, you have a restaurant. Make sure, let's see how long you can keep it up.
That'll be their hands-on education.
That's right.
That yeah, that could work. How many children do you have?
0, but
0 now. Okay.
now I can officially say that my wife is pregnant. So by March,
Congratulations.
we should have the first one.
Excellent. Okay, good. And I like that you're already planning ahead
Oh,
for
yes.
when they're going to be college age. Well, congratulations on that. So you with your JM Growth Co., you have a curriculum that you are rolling out as we speak. If
Yes.
I'm, correct me if I'm wrong. And it really is that program that you were describing where it's business growth made simple and you're getting in there, simplifying and putting, after assessing everything, from what I can tell, you're putting in true practices and systems that will transform the business.
Yes.
What else can you share about the business growth made simple?
Yeah. So we have a few different levels of how people can actually interact with us. One, we're going to be posting out a lot of free content. So if people just kind of want to get to know us a lot, check out our YouTube channel or Instagram channel, JM Growth,
Okay.
Jonathan Marques Growth.
And we're
Across.
going to have all those links in the description as well.
So if you just kind of want to see what our philosophies are, I don't hold back on any of that stuff, right? And then like level one is going to be, we have a very simple event, and for all your listeners out there, we can actually give it to you guys for free. It's like an entry level event where we're going to do once a week. And that's pretty much how we give you the basics, fundamentals of exactly what a business looks like. We break down the three different buckets in business. We start teaching you different things on where are you currently trained and what's holding you back. A lot of people think, hey, if I want to make more money, I just got to market better. That's not always the case. Like that example I told you about when it comes to the $20 million location business, those guys there, they were spending $20,000 a month on marketing, and they had zero understanding where the dollars were going. So that's not the first big domino to affect. Now, it all depends on what level you're currently at and how you're going to continue to move up. But I've been able to kind of create a blueprint, no matter where you're starting, what the next step looks like. And pretty much where most business owners get stuck is pretty much they don't really understand where they want to go. They're not clear on it because most business owners, they have some type of desire, but they started because they were unhappy as employees, or they have some type of vision, but they were never clear on what that vision was. So they never spent the time nor had the actual information to know what kind of foundation can I put in the business, because if the foundation is strong, things are good. Most business owners act like contractors without any license or any architect. And they're like, okay, I want to get started. Let's put up the first floor of the house. And then once I make a little bit more money, let's add an addition. And then let's add a second floor. And then the third. But the foundation of that building was never built to be a 4-floor, 5-floor building itself. And that's where businesses grow and then completely collapse overnight.
Absolutely. I mean, I see that in my chosen industry as well, which my last 27 years has been very, very heavily focused in real estate, along with coaching and growth. But the other area that I see business owners run into is they get so wrapped up in the day-to-day activities, they allow their email box or their voicemail to be their taskmaster. So they're actually allowing other people to dictate how they use their time and energy. And they do not check for a return on investment with the money that's going out.
Yeah.
And that's rampant in real estate. We don't need to get too far off topic here, but there are some real estate agents that they may have, say, 40 million in gross sales volume. They may have over $1 million in income, gross income, but what did they spend to get that? So very similar to what you're describing, if they are doing massive high cost marketing and they're not making sure that they're making at least $3 per dollar spent, they could spend everything they make. It's wild.
Yes. And it's like the ego, right? Ego loves these big gross numbers. But business is not about ego. Business, it doesn't even matter how much you make. It matters about how much you keep.
How much you keep.
And if you're making $2 and you're spending $3, like it doesn't matter what business you're in.
It doesn't matter. That's right. Yeah. Yeah. So I want to, if it's okay with you, I want to go back to when you're 18 and you were going to college.
Yep.
And you decide you're going to be the owner of a restaurant. Did anyone give you any pushback?
Some people called me crazy for sure. I didn't have the funds, so I had to get my dad to loan me some money for that. It was higher interest rate than I would have gotten at the bank for sure. But what bank would have given me a loan?
Right.
It was a great lesson as well. So kind of had me have skin in the game, and I had to pay him back, which I did.
Yeah.
But it was exciting. I knew from the beginning I always wanted to be a business owner. Because my belief was kind of, hey, if you're a business owner, you get to decide your destiny. And you don't have to be a victim to whatever happens that's outside your control.
Right. And you are, not that I put total weight into generational theory, but you're the tail end of millennials?
Yeah.
Is that your generation?
I think like I'm in the middle of millennials, but yeah.
In the middle of millennials. Okay. So if anyone happens to be listening to us right now, that is 18 or 19 or 20, and they have that fire, which I believe you and I share, where they knew that they wanted to build something or own a business or, get work for themselves. And yet they're getting often loving. It's usually with a lot of love where people are like, oh, oh, you're too fill in the blank, young, not experienced, or whatever people fill it in with. What would you say to a young person out there that has the same kind of fire that you had when you were 18? What
So
would you advise them?
once I understood this advice, it completely changed the way I lived my life, which was only take advice from people who are living the life you want to live. So what does that mean? Most of these people who are going to try to protect you, because that's what they are, they're loving you. They might be
Yes.
family members, friends, and they want to keep you where you are. At that point, you have to say, okay, if they're living the life that you want, they probably have your best interest at heart, right? But in most cases, especially if you're young, you will probably want to live a bigger life than what your parents are living. You probably have a bigger desire. And if that's the case, only take advice from people who actually have what you want, because they know
Right.
exactly how to get there, right? And humans in general, I don't know if you ever heard of the how to catch a crab story.
Yes. Yes.
So for anybody who has not, easiest way to catch a crab is very easy to catch. It's very hard to catch one crab, very easy to catch multiple. The reason why is, say you catch one crab, you put it in the bucket. If it's just one crab, that crab is just going to crawl outside the bucket. Now, humans are the same exact way. If we're by ourselves and we have enough kind of motivation and nobody else around to influence us, we're going to keep going no matter what that is. But once you put other crabs in the bucket, and the story goes, a little kid's walking by, fisherman's catching crabs. All of a sudden, the little kid says, "Hey, mister, your crab's going to escape." He goes, "Don't worry, son. Just watch what's going to happen." So one
Right.
crab starts to kind of go away from the pack, starts to go up. What winds up happening once he gets close? They tear him back down. Everybody
Yeah.
else just pulls him back down. So that crab doesn't want to give up. He keeps going and he keeps going, and every single time tears him back down. To the crab's point of view, to the point where the crabs get so mad they tear him limb from limb if he keeps trying.
Hmm.
That can happen to us with normal society as well. What if you
Yes.
but good thing you're not a crab if you're listening to this podcast. You have the
Yeah,
ability to
that's right.
decide who you're going to let into yours. You have the ability to decide who you're going to let into your mindset, who you're going to let into your environment, and understand they're coming from a caring heart. And use that filter.
Yes.
Do they have the life that I want to live? If yes, listen to them. If no, take it with a grain of salt.
I think that is excellent advice. And I would add to it that, and this is from Gary Keller. He has a class called Quantum Leap, and he talks about how when you do analysis on people in society at large, at scale, that your life will become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know about you and your clients, but a lot of times people don't want to hear that because there are things like loyalty and longevity. And, there's other elements where people say, but Bridget, this person, that may be interfering with growth, achievement, success, they can't let go of them. It's one of their crabs, in the bucket that's keeping them in there. So, yeah, I'm really glad you brought that up. And it reinforces what you have chosen to do, what I have chosen to do as well, is to seek out perpetual learning and to
Yes.
learn from those that are doing at a higher level or with a different approach, because that increases versatility, and investing in yourself
Sure.
so that
100%.
you could be the strongest leader of yourself. And now you can have these businesses, this family. I'm sure I got to ask you, your parents have got to be so proud.
Yes, they are. They show it in their very unique ways, but I hear
Mhm.
them talking to their friends about it. Of course, they never tell.
Mhm. Right.
And just, I guess, one point back to that topic that we're talking about. If you're saying, well, I don't have anybody in my life that is rich, or I don't have anybody in my life that
Mhm.
is a business owner, so that must mean that I'll never get there. Or the 5 people I hang around with the most, they're all not where I want to be. Does that mean I'm stuck? If you're living in today's day and age, one thing that you can currently have for free is virtual mentors. Do some
Absolutely.
coaching and learning from exactly who you want. Now, be careful. There's a lot of frauds out there. But
Mhm.
my recommendation is don't have a bunch of different mentors either. Find somebody, go deep on one individual, see if that's exactly who you align with, and then just listen to that one person. Because the other thing that can hold you back is if you have 2 rich guys, one rich guy is going to say, "Hey, I don't have any debt on anything." The other guy said, "I grew with a bunch of debt." All of a sudden,
Correct.
they both have good lifestyles, but you're going to have conflicting information. And with conflicting information, you're not clear. You're going to have that chaos that we talk about, and you're never
Correct.
going to take the actions to move forward.
Right. And to use your other word, you won't have the confidence to make decisions with, with leaning in on what would be the best fit for you. And I agree with you. You can find mentors, you can find others and create relationships. It's one of the beautiful things about there's some other things not so beautiful about social media and virtual meeting places like you and I. We're having this business meeting. We're states away and 3 hours apart, time zone wise. So you can lean in on that and you can create the change you want to see in your own life.
100% agree.
Regardless of where you're starting from.
Yes. But the first thing is you have to believe it, right? Because as long as you believe it, I know it sounds cliche, you can achieve it. But
Right.
I think most people have a very small way of thinking. And I usually talk about like a goal setting exercise that I usually put people through. And I'll kind of give you guys a 3-step process on how to get anything you want in life, right?
Excellent.
Step number 1, know what you want. Be clear. Most people just react to the circumstances that they're dealt with. But when they're doing that, it's like those guys working in the business and not on the business. You have to take your head up and kind of look forward and be like, okay, what do I actually want? And when you figure out what you want, make sure it's a big enough dream that will actually change your mind, right?
Yes.
And change your life. If it's a small dream, hey, I want more money. Once you have $1, you've achieved that.
You've got more. That's right.
So be super specific. If $1 million is it for you, that's why we kind of give people that roadmap. $1 million in sales, $1 million in profit. Or if you don't really know what you want, we'll kind of show you, okay, this is the next level for you potentially. But if $1 million a year is really going to change your life, that's a big enough goal. Then that's going to help out with number 2, which is going to be know why you want it. Because if you're clear on what you want and your why is strong enough, things get so much easier from there. Which is thing number 3, then it's figure out how to get it.
Right.
So if I was to kind of paint you a picture of what this actually looks like in person, is going to be okay. Say you're on the East Coast. For instance, right now I'm in New Jersey and I want to go to California. That's number 1. What I want is California. But that's still too vague. California is a huge state.
Huge.
So you're going to say, okay, I want to go to Los Angeles, California, 123 Main Street on the 4th floor in the fourth building in the 4th room on the right corner. That's specific of what you want. Now, why do you want it? I'll give you 2 options. I'll put a $10 bill there, which is one reason, or I'll put $1 million in a bag there waiting for you. The why for the $10 bill is probably much lower why. The why for the $1 million is much higher, so that's going to drive you to keep going. But the only thing is you have to get there within 48 hours. So now you know exactly what you want. You're super clear on where you want to go. You exactly know why you want it, because you can be $1 million richer in 48 hours if you actually do this. Now you have to figure out the how. Now, just as a quick exercise, Bridget, give me 5 ways on how I can get from New Jersey to California.
Fly, drive, train. That's about it I can think of.
How about a horse? You could take
horse. Yeah, horse. You could Forrest Gump it and run.
Run, right? You can take a boat if you want, right? You could take a rocket ship if you contact Elon Musk. You can skip. You can hitchhike. You can ride a motorcycle. There's unlimited hows. And that's the thing that most people don't really know. And they forget. Because what winds up happening is, in most people's life is, hey, I want more money. I think that more money is in California. Very fuzzy what they want, right? Very fuzzy what. Not clear. Also not big enough. The why, and just kind of want it. So no motivation. So what winds up happening is, okay, how do I get to California? First thing in everybody's head, I got to take a flight. So they book the flight. All of a sudden they get to the airport and the flight cancels on them. And at that point, now they're going to say, God does not want me to go to California.
Yeah.
God has nothing to do with you going to California or not. God's given you so many different ways, so many different paths on how you can do it. But if you give up on the first one and you're tied to the path, you lose sight of your outcome. And that's why that outcome has to be big enough for you to actually go through it, because people are going to cancel flights in your life. And you have to figure out the way on how to get there.
Well, I think it's a really great way of breaking that down. And you're right. Nobody would go through the effort for $10 because why? You'd spend more than that getting there. Yeah.
What winds up happening
It's
in most people's world is, okay, I kind of know what I want. Okay, let me figure out how. I don't really know how, so they just give up. They go from step
right.
one to step three. They skip the whole step two because if you're clear on what you want and that why is strong enough, you will figure out the how.
One of the things that just you made me think about is that belief that underlies the clarity and the what, the why, and the how is believing that it's possible for you and believing in yourself and your ability. With your clients, like where do you see people make big strides in leading themselves? How do you help them to lead themselves so that they do feel I can do this and I know what I'm going after, why I'm going after it, and how I'm going to do it? Like, how do you get them to have the belief and then take the action?
So so what you're bringing up is like psychology, right? So
Hmm.
when you look at business as a whole, usually the chokehold of any business is a psychology of the owner or the leader. So if you don't believe it's going to happen, it will never happen to you. So we actually help our clients get super clear on what they want. And I believe if you're actually clear on what you want and you start believing it more and more and more, it's going to start helping you ingrain yourself for it.
Hmm.
But the other side of that is going to be, hey, Jonathan, I don't have enough self-confidence. I don't believe in myself. Now, when you actually break down what self-confidence means, there's an easy 2 ways on how you can improve anybody's self-confidence within yourself, no matter where you are. Way number one, keep the promises you make to yourself, which
Yes.
means if you're going to say you're going to go on a diet on Monday, go on a diet on Monday. And the craziest part is you lie to yourself all the time
All the
when no
time.
one else knows what's happening. And that makes it an easy lie. But if you can't even trust yourself, it's very hard for your self-confidence to grow. And then the other thing is just going to be do hard things. So
Yeah.
one of the things that we actually help out people with is actually holding people accountable. So we'll agree on what a target is. We'll kind of lay out a game plan and we will hold you accountable. So even if it is hard, you will make sure that you get it done because that accountability level really helps people out. And to be honest, right, in most businesses, we don't do hard things. Like my great grandfather came here, he was digging the Holland Tunnel with a shovel. Like that's
Right.
hard things. We have people
Yeah.
working construction 12 hours, 20 hours a day type of thing. That's hard things. Making 100 cold calls a day, that's not hard.
Pretty easy.
It's
Yeah.
just all that is mental. And once you fully understand it and break down the path, because the other thing that holds people back is that how, that tyranny of how. What we do is once we have a clear goal and now you understand why, we can actually give you the easiest path on how to get to the how because we know exactly what you want. So now instead of making $1 million a year, and that's like a huge number, how in the world am I going to make $1 million a year? We break it down. Okay, you only need about $20,000 a week, which means you need about $3,000 a day. So if you're selling $1,000 product as an example, you only need to make 3 sales a day. That's a
Right.
lot easier to get 3 sales a day than thinking about how am I going to make a
The whole
million,
year. Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
one thing that really helps business owners out that we teach people is the power of measurement. So the more you measure something, just by the fact of measuring it, it's going to get better. There's science been proven where if somebody wants to lose weight, they don't change anything else. All they do is go on the scale every single day and measure themselves. They will automatically start to lose weight because our brain actually focuses on things that are important to us. And if we're measuring it
Right.
all the time, it's going to be important to
It's
us.
important. Yeah. So I have another question that I want to ask you. I'm sure there is someone listening to us somewhere that has had failure in the past. It may have been academic, it may have been relationship, it may have been maybe they did go out on a limb and they started a business and it failed and they lost money, or they lost money in the stock market. So nearly everyone that we know has had failure. So what if someone is listening to us right now and they have had a failure and they are now holding themselves back from taking another chance because the fear of the failure again is too strong? Do you have any words of wisdom you would share with them that may just slightly shift their perspective and get them to see that there's still opportunity and they can learn from those mistakes and move ahead? What would you say?
I learned this from Keith Cunningham. And for anybody who does not know who Keith is, he was in the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad. He was the rich dad. right? And then he talks about a failure that he had one time where he wound up losing $100 million, right, in the business. And at that point, he went on a radio talk show. Before the talk show, the guy asked, "Hey, any questions you don't want me to ask?" And Keith Cunningham said, "Yeah, just don't ask me how it feels to lose $100 million, please, on air." So, and then what does this disc jockey do after the commercial break?
Hey,
Hey, it's Keith. Right now we have Keith Cunningham, the man who lost $100 million. Keith, how does it feel to lose $100 million? And of course, Keith gets super upset, but he thinks about it a little bit. He goes, "I think there's a better question to ask. Instead of feeling, hey, how does it feel to lose $100 million? I view it as I paid a tuition for a lesson. Now, it's a very expensive tuition that I paid. Most people have never paid that tuition, so it's a very elite group. The question isn't how does it feel to lose $100 million? The question is, did I get my money's worth? Did I learn the lesson needed to make that investment for that tuition?" In my personal life, thankfully, I have not lost $100 million, but there's been deals that I've
right.
lost $1 million in. I've lost $2 million in, right? And these are different things that I could take as a failure. But realistically, what's failure? I still have a pulse. I still breathe
Yes.
every day. I still have people that love me. And at that point, I now know I have the capability of taking the next step. And all you really have to do is kind of build your confidence back up. I mean, I have one client in particular where he tried to do a construction business, wound up getting screwed by his partner, and was to the point where he had a gun in his mouth. Like,
Oh,
he lost
right.
everything in his mind.
Everything.
He
Yeah.
had his family, but like all this mental stuff that was happening. After kind of taking him out of that mindset of being a true failure type of thing, all we did was, okay, what are we focusing on every single day that actually moved the needle forward a little bit? Because
Right.
success can build on success. So for those people who are afraid to kind of take the next step, just every single day, think back before you go to sleep. Okay, what did I like about today? What did I win today? And you won because you woke up. I'm sure some of you guys have
Yes.
also heard, hey, if I was to give you $10 million, how happy would you be? Super happy, right? But if I said, I'll give you $10 million, but you can't wake up tomorrow,
Yeah.
how happy would you be then? Most people would never take that bet.
No. We'd be like, no, thank you.
So at
You
that
may
point,
keep the 10 million.
that means that waking up is worth more than $10 million. So if that's actually the thought process that you have, that means that you're not a failure. Whatever you have is worth more than $10 million because you wouldn't give up for it.
Right. You're exactly right. So I hope that people really take that to heart. I really like how Keith framed that is, did I get my money's worth? Did
Yes.
I learn enough from that I'll come out stronger than ever before? And I'm assuming with what you've shared and what you've built in what a lot of people would consider to be a somewhat short time frame. You've been professionally working now for 15-ish years,
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
15, 16, something like that.
Mhm.
That you got your money's worth out of any losses, the tuition that you paid with any of the losses in the past.
So I kind
Yeah.
of did it both ways, right? So the restaurant phase, I learned a lot the hard way. So a lot of entrepreneurs like to kind of do the trial and error. So I worked for 5 years straight in the restaurant days, right? 7 days a week. And all I had to show for it was I think I saved $20,000 after 5 years of working my butt off. I could
Right.
have worked for a company and saved a whole lot more, which means
Right.
all the opportunity loss that I had was a massive amount. But I actually took that lesson and I learned from my past mistakes. But the universe, God, whatever you believe in, has a way of kind of challenging you to the next level. So that was just a challenge to kind of get you there. Now, I never wanted to challenge myself that way. So I kind of wanted to force myself to grow. So now, how do I accelerate it? I found people who were playing the game of business much higher than I was.
Mm-hmm.
And I started giving them money for access to their knowledge. So things that took
Yes.
them decades to figure out, I was able to compress in a short amount of time.
Yes.
So you can either invest backwards by trial and error, and hopefully you learn that lesson, or you can invest forwards and compress time by actually finding a good mentor and somebody that you agree with and having them giving you the shortcuts of everything that they've learned in a long time period.
Well, Jonathan, one of the other parts of your business, because we've talked a lot about, say, people starting out or people that are in it and they want growth. But one of the things that's interesting to me is that in Jam Growth Co., You will also work with business owners that want to sell.
Yep.
And what I was thinking about in particular, when you just look at demographics in our country right now, as you know, boomers have stayed in place much longer than anyone expected. They are working longer than anyone expected. Some have to, some don't. Some have to because of the recession, like they're still not financially secure enough. So, for a variety of reasons. But there are probably boomers out there, possibly even some silent generation that have been hanging on, right? That are hanging on to these businesses they own. One of the things that stuck out to me is it sounds like you have the ability to work with someone in that position that would love to, because their business isn't in a position to sell right now. They don't have the profit. They don't have the sales volume. Maybe they haven't modernized. Whatever's happening, it's not saleable at the moment. They could actually work with you, and it sounds like using your same 1 million sales, 1 million profit, and then scale to sell, you could actually work with someone. And I don't want to put time frames out there, but let's just say over the course of 3 years, they may have revitalized this company to the point where they could then sell it.
Yes. So when it comes to selling businesses, it's something that a lot of entrepreneurs dream of, right? And especially if you've been a baby boomer and been doing the business for 30, 40 years, whatever it is, and you finally want to kind of get out of it, but you realize that you've never really put the foundational in to really
Right.
do sell. And no one teaches people to sell. So the first time I sold the business itself was actually one of the restaurants. I got hammered. I got killed. I think I wanted like $50,000. They ended up bringing me all the way down to like 15. And I was so desperate. And I was just like, just take it from me. The
Right.
next time I sold the business, that's when I was able to kill because I learned a lot of the systems that a good buyer would actually want. So let's kind of give you some stats on there. About 80% of all businesses that go up for sale never get sold, which
Right.
means they have two options. They can keep working it or they can just shut it down. And most of the reasons they don't sell is they don't have the infrastructure or they don't have the proper size. The next thing is going to be out of the 20% that actually do sell, most of those only sell for the asset value, which means that who's ever buying it, pretty much who's ever selling it, I should say, pretty much got whatever they put into the business, where they never really got a return. So the business was like a savings account where you bought some equipment and all of a sudden that equipment depreciated and then you're able to sell it for whatever that equipment's worth. At the end of the day, it's not really a sale at that when you're looking at it at that point of view. Now, what makes a business sellable? So step number one is going to be, that's why we say scale and sell, because we believe if you want your business to get to the point where it can scale, that means you have to stick out of the operator role and be the owner role itself. That alone will actually start opening you up to how to make your business saleable. Because who's ever going to buy your business, in most cases, they don't want a job. They want something that's an asset that can move forward.
That's right. Absolutely right. Yeah.
And
they
then,
don't want to be working 7 days a week, 12-hour days. Yeah, they don't want, that's not attractive. That's not a selling point. Yeah.
So how are you going to get your business to that level? One, that means we have to put systems and processes in place, checks and balances. If you're that lone star entrepreneur, you probably just know everything that's happening in your business. You probably try to hire a few
It's
people.
all up here.
Of course, yes.
Yeah.
And you probably have this thought, no one can do it better than me.
That's right. Yeah.
I have
My
that.
clients only want me.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that's what's going to keep you small, right?
Yes.
So if you're so tied to that ego piece, we're sorry, we probably can't help you. But if you actually want to grow and you want to challenge yourself, it's time to get yourself out of it and actually make yourself more money with less time invested itself. And that's checks and balances, KPIs, going through each department, those 3 departments, marketing, sales, and operations. How do we have SOPs in there? How do we do one-on-one meetings with people? How do we hold people accountable? And now instead of being like, yes, Judy's the one that kind of handles those things, just the power of like an organizational chart. That's something that we put people through makes a huge difference when it comes to making sure your business is scalable, which means whether you want to sell or don't sell, at least you don't have to work in it. The people who sell their business for the most amount of money are the people who don't have to sell. So that's going to be step number one.
Exactly right.
So if you don't have to sell because you have a business that you like, that you don't really have to invest that much time in, you're great. You can wait for the right offer and you can keep growing your business itself.
Right.
Now, for those people who really want to kind of get that generational wealth, then you kind of learn a few extra lessons. At that point, you need a little bit more scale. Once you get to about $5 million in profit, you open up to a whole new set of buyers in the private equity world. Now, in the
Yes.
private equity world, $5 million in profit, conservatively, you can probably get 5 times your actual profit, which means a $20 million business valuation. If you have the systems and processes in place, you don't even have to be tied to the actual businesses. So one of the last businesses that I sold, I was not having to do any type of earnout. It was all cash out close, right? Because the systems and processes that were in there, and I was able just to walk away and have the business keep running with the new ownership, right?
Right.
So that is all possible depending on how big you want to get this thing.
Well, is there anything that we haven't touched on that you feel compelled to share about?
Business is going to be complicated, yes. But I think when you focus on all the little problems that you can face, it will kind of get that wind out of your balloon, as they say. And understanding if you are the chokehold of your business itself, that means that your psychology is super, super important. I believe my job as an owner of a business is two main things. One, to have a vision big enough for my company so I can attract A players so they can fulfill their dreams and their goals within my overall vision. And then
Yes.
two, put the right people and the right systems in place. As long as you're doing those two things, you're pretty much most of the way there. Then we'll teach you all the tactics that you need to learn, and depending on the size of the business that you're in. But I want you to start understanding, hey, you're here to compete against yourself, you're here to learn, and you're here to grow the business that you want to grow.
All right. Well, I want to ask you, uh, imagine that it is October 1st, uh, 2035. What do you see for yourself?
So that then by that point, I'll definitely have my private plane
Okay.
flying around the
Good.
country.
Okay.
At that point, we probably have already helped probably 5,000 businesses
Okay.
start in that scaling process. And we'll start doing like big events around the country and really helping people out. And then the arm of kind of helping those people kind of scale and sell type of thing. At that point, we'll have a full developed team that can actually incorporate into your individual business, and we can kind of be that consultant that will kind of walk you through every step of the way, find you buyers, and kind of have that whole private equity arm as well to really build value for people.
I think that's great. And you'll have a 9-year-old.
Yeah, and a 9-year-old, and hopefully, at least the goal is four boys. So we'll see how that plays out.
Excellent. Okay. I like that. I'm the fourth out of 5. So I like that you at least want to get that fourth one in there.
Correct,
Because
100%. I think we got
I was,
two people should always at least duplicate themselves at minimum if you're married. So two people should always create two people just to kind of leave the world how it is. But if you want to leave the world a little bit better, which I think we should, give 3 or 4 after that.
excellent. Yes, that is excellent advice. Well, I have really enjoyed talking about this. So many of the things that you mentioned are in alignment with the work that I do. 2 that I want to reference quickly and see if you have any additional feedback. You brought up really for an owner operator, even if someone's in leadership or sales, um, know your 20%. Know your 20% that will bring you 80% of the results, and then carry it one step further. Make sure that every work week, 80% of your time is spent in that 20%. And if you actually analyze that at a high level, like you were talking about measuring, just get on the scale every day. If you analyze that at a high level for 4 to 6 weeks, first off, most people are shocked. Because guess what? It doesn't even come close. They realize, it gives you a whole different perspective on what is wasting your time and shenanigans, and that it will empower people to control their budget of time, which you mentioned, that's the most precious asset. It's not money. We can go out and find more money or make more money or find investors, right? You can't get more time, right? So that I think is critical. And I love that you have incorporated that into the work that you're doing.
So with that, I think the only thing I would add to that would be like when people are kind of stuck doing to-do lists, they
Yeah,
become process driven and not outcome driven.
I know.
So if you're clear on what your outcome actually is, you can actually just say, okay, yeah, it feels good to kind of get your to-do list out of the way. but your to-do list will never be finished.
It will
So
not. No.
will this get me closer to my outcome or not? And if it's not going to get
Right.
you closer, leave that stuff to the side.
Leave it out or leverage it out. Find someone else who is better at doing that and have them do it. And as you said, allow them to create a big world for themselves because your vision is so large that you're creating a world large enough for them to
Yep.
find their own success. And then that whole concept of you have to think big. And I don't even like using the phrase have to. But I do use it in this regard, and I know that you really believe that when you're thinking bigger with your goals and your dreams, you're going to achieve more. And in my chosen industry, very often people, I'll just give an example, they'll say, well, last year I had 21 million in gross sales volume, so next year I'm going to shoot for 24 million in sales volume. To which I say, if you want to gamble, because get ready, you might not even hit what you did last year. You might go a little over. But you really tapped into that because the way that I think it happens, if you set a small goal, if you think small and go, I'll go from 21 to 23, your subconscious says, well, you did 21 million last year just doing what you did. So just make one little small tweak and you'll hit 23. So your actions and your process and your system, your attention to foundation, protecting your time, making sure that you're doing activities that will achieve the goal. It's not going to get the spark of ignition to make you seriously think. The gap that you create with a year-over-year goal, if it's not big, then your brain will just say, okay, we can do that. We just have to do a little more. You want to challenge it to where your brain goes, okay, how are we going to cover a gap of 8 million in sales? Because then your brain, your subconscious has to figure out how it will go for it. So I loved that everything you shared around that power of thinking big, having the big why. Is there anything else you want to add or that you've seen in your experience around the danger of setting a small incremental goal?
So it comes down to like, if you're at 22, 24 is not going to change your life, right?
No.
So when something happens in the economy or when something kind of outside of your control happens, what you want is lower. Your why you want it is super low, which means now you become very passive, and now you don't have that fire to kind of keep pushing things forward.
Right.
I believe that humans are the happiest when they feel progress. And I believe that we're actually put on this earth to reach our potential. And the crazy part about potential is, as soon as you get to the next level, there's always another level above that.
That's right.
So just for the fact of you feeling like the person that you want to become, that should be enough to kind of help you say, hey, I'm going to dream bigger. Now, the question is, how big should I actually dream? So this should be a goal that you know is realistic, but scares you because you don't know exactly how to do it, right?
Exactly right.
So don't go from $0 to $1 billion, right? Go from 0 to 1 million where you know it's possible. Many people have done it. So I just don't know how. And it's going to give you a different framework on exactly how to think that problem. But remember, Step 1, know what you want. Step 2, really dig deep. Why do you want it? Tie it to other people that you love, because the opposite effect of that crab story is also true. People are more willing to do things for others than will for themselves.
Absolutely.
Really focus on that why, that motivation piece, and then those hows will come up. You can take a plane, you can take a train, you can take a car, you can take however many ways you can get there.
You know that touching on keeping promises that you make to yourself and how we let ourselves off the hook all the time, right? That's a chronic issue. People are more likely to keep promises they make to others.
Yes.
And they are more likely to fulfill what they've said they are going to do if they have told others what they're going to do. So I'm really glad that you also brought that up. Share it with family, share it with your inner circle, as long as your inner circle is supportive, right? Like rewind and listen to the crab story and what I mentioned about the 5 people you spend the most time with. Correct. But when you share it, when you write it down, and then when you make a promise to somebody else based on what you're going to do, you will be shocked how much stronger the action will be that you take.
Let me kind of give you some science behind there. So There's actually one part of our brain that's, for short, it's RAS, reticular activating system.
Yes.
So once I actually learned about this, And I'm sure many people have heard about The Secret, the movie The Secret, or the book The Secret, where if you think it, it's going to come. Part of it's true, but that's like the foo-foo side of it. When you actually look at the science piece, your brain, there's always so many things happening around you. And that one part of your brain, the RAS, is pretty much here to kind of zone in on exactly what's important, what's going to help you survive and kind of help you get what you want. So a classic example of this is last time you guys bought a car, before you bought that car, no one had that car. As soon as you bought that car, it's like everyone on the street is driving the same exact car as you. How is that possible? Those cars were always there, but because you told your brain that it became important to you, they just became visible to you, right?
Right.
So when I started learning this, and one of my mentors told me, hey, write down your goals every single day. I'm like, oh, that's foo-foo stuff. I'm not really going to do that. So I spent like a year not doing it. And then I think it was 2018, January, I did it. I started writing down my goals. And these goals were like big enough goals where I had no idea how I was going to do it. It was scary.
Yep.
But I was like, hey, let's challenge this thing out. So one of the goals was I made $1 million in sales. I had no idea how I was going to do that, right? Next goal, I owned an Aston Martin. That was my favorite dream car. I saw James Bond drive it growing up and all that stuff.
My screensaver is on my laptop.
An Aston Martin?
A gorgeous Aston Martin, yes.
See, we're connected.
Yep.
See that?
We are connected.
So I started writing down this goal, and I do it in the morning and at night. And for the first 3 months, I felt so incongruent because I had low self-confidence. Like nothing was going on right in my life. I had all these problems, and I felt like I was lying to myself. I literally thought like my whole body was just so out of congruent. But after 3 months of just doing something simple, which is just writing down my goals, it took 3 minutes a day, right? Do that. I started to believe it. And I started to train my RAS to start looking at different ways on what's actually how to get there. So if I was to focus on the how, then I would have stopped writing it down because I had no idea how I was going to afford an Aston Martin, how I was going to get $1 million. So I started that in January. By September, I own my Aston Martin.
Nice.
That
Mine is going to be my 60th birthday present to myself.
Nice. Very cool. Love that.
So working towards that. So this, that the RAS, you're actually living through RAS. You're living through right now a very common RAS situation because you're expecting your first child. So it's very common, like you're kind of going through life, and every once in a while you might notice like, wow, that lady is really pregnant. But usually you kind of don't see them. And then you or your wife, or your whomever becomes pregnant. And then all of a sudden, it's like you see pregnant people everywhere. Pregnant women are everywhere. And you're like, are we in the middle of a baby boom? Everyone's having babies. And that's a very funny situation. I do remember that happening to me. All of a sudden, I was like, everyone's pregnant.
Yeah.
Now,
and you see
is it partly because I was shopping where you needed the supplies to have a baby? Probably, right? And going to that doctor. But still, it's funny. That's a big RAS activator.
100%.
For sure.
I agree.
Because the birth rate is the same.
Yeah.
It's pretty stable, right? But all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, everyone's having babies.
100%.
Well, this, Jonathan, I could talk to you for hours. And this has been just such a great conversation. I so appreciate everything you've shared with the audience. If somebody wanted to reach out to you, I believe you said that the easiest way is on your YouTube channel and your Instagram.
Yep.
Correct?
Go to our website, jangrowthco.com.
jamgrowthco.com. Excellent. The fun thing is knowing what's possible. And what I see as possible is you having your private jet in October 2035 because you've now set it, and I'm assuming you know why you want it.
Right.
And you went into that you want to be all around the country and impacting people's lives. I want to thank you so much for impacting anyone who listened to this today. And I would love it if you may come back again as a guest maybe next year and share what you've done in the course of that next year. If you're listening to this episode, I, of course, also hope that you'll come again for the next episode of The Inner Estate. Thank you so much and have a great day.